Hey, it's Soncerae here with another Iyanla Fix My Life Healing a Man's Heart Part 2, ladies. Black men, endangered species. Are you ready, beloveds? Yes, I hope you're ready for this one. If you haven't checked out the last recap I made of Part 1, please be sure to check that out so you won't be lost as I go over this. Last episode, Iyanla invited 6 black men into the House of Healing to fix a black man's heart. So we meet Terrance, who is the father to Lyra Galore. Lyra Galore was on the Woman's House of Healing and spoke about her frustrations with Terrance, who she feels wasn't the best father she could have. And let me tell you something, I agree all the goddamn way. What makes me even more livid about this man, and I'm talking 3 degrees below hell hot, is that this man claims he doesn't know why Lyra feels that way, and every time he says it, I just want to jump through this godforsaken TV screen and drop kick his ass like an MMA fighter. You have no idea how much that hits home for me in my heart and so many other women. Anyway, my boy Kevin McCall, aka Dangerous, is something kind of demented with his street fighting ass. Tell me why you mad, son. Tell me why you mad. That nigga is angry. The mothers of his children have court orders to keep him away from them and his kids temporarily because his ass is 38 hotter at the world than I am at Terrance. He says he was only verbally abusive and crazy, but the dude kicked down his ex Eva Pickford's door and snatched their daughter out her hands. Really, Ike? Really? He wants some, Tina, if you die, I'ma kill you. You heard me, bitch? If you die, I'ma kill you. Mike Bass, former member of Boyz II Men, struggled with his MS in secret for years. He's on the show because he literally wants to strangle the rest of his band members because they weren't there for him while he was ill. But you know, he forgot to even tell them the severity of his illness. They just assumed he was just being an arrogant asshole for reasons that have to do with fame and money, when really he was just struggling with his spine and had too much pride to tell them. Now, can you blame him? His legs were barely working. He's like Pinocchio when he tripped down the stairs. And these motherfuckers on some Jiminy Cricket shit like,
go ahead. Make a fool of yourself.
I feel for Mike. I really do. It's funny that the word previously is covering that one ugly member of Boyz II Men that no one was feeling like that. I mean, I'm pretty sure he wasn't getting the ladies. I'm just saying. I know that's messed up to say, but I'm just saying. At the end of the last episode, Terrance walked off set, ready to go, claiming that he fixed everything with his daughter. So now, Iyanla has fixed my life. She has exorcised the demons. So he ready to go, riding on the I'm a private person, I shouldn't air my dirty laundry on national TV train. But little does this jackass of a clown know, this whole thing ain't even about Lyra. Shit's about him. When he went to tell the brothers, Iyanla was like, fellas, ain't he on some jailhouse mentality shit? And they all high-fived her like, yeah, he tripping. Terrance was like, oh, so you all on that condescending and shit too, huh, bitches? I thought you were my brothers. Peace. I'm out, my G. This nigga walks out on people so easy, I swear. I've seen the back of his head on this show more than the front of his fucked up face. Anyway, on to the life fixing. So Iyanla says these men are brought on this show as representations of black men who isolate themselves and act in destructive ways because often they don't have the tools needed to communicate or succeed. Out of all of the men, Terrance has been the one who is most resistant to the process. External forces are negatively affecting his ability to focus on his healing, which is really that be with an itch white wife of his by the name of Jennifer. Okay, I know I shouldn't be bringing race into this, but if you all can recall last episode, I didn't like this witch. I'm sure this chick planted some hex bags and did some white magic on his ass. Lyra Galore's mother sent me a picture of this chick for my own personal amusement, and I'm here to share it with you. Don't she look like all kinds of trash from the trailer? Especially in comparison to his ex, Michelle, Lyra's mother. If Jennifer wasn't so damn wicked on the inside, I may consider her personality as his reasons for being with her, but I still don't get it. Everything about this woman is presented as unpleasant, especially how she carries herself. After storming off, Terrance had second thoughts and asked to speak to Iyanla privately again. I really think he has a thing for Miss Iyanla's lovely bones, and I don't mean in a sexual way, I mean in a motherly love kind of way, but he's fighting himself. He wants to stay, he just doesn't want to ruffle Jennifer's feathers. That's what I think, because Jennifer, his wife, doesn't want him there. Lyra Galore's mother so goddamn fine, like wine forever. She would think that's funny. That's an inside joke. So anyway, Iyanla tells Terrance that she is going to place a call to Jennifer for him and explain everything, because she can tell that this resistance being there has a lot to do with this witch. He comes back in the house and the fellas are happy to see he's back. Everyone's like, Terrance, just stay. And Iyanla's like, listen, I hope he can focus on what he's doing and stop letting outside forces distract him, beloved. Anyway, Iyanla explains that in order to help this process, she has the fellas doing acts of community service. Anyone else pick up on that evil ass look that Dangerous has on his face? Sexy, but a little malicious. Looking like he's saying, I'm secretly punching you in the face in the back of my mind. You know what I'm saying? Equipped with that evil cackle. She has them hold hands in a circle and says to them, fellas, today we're going into the battlefield to meet with brothers that are rock bottom. Okay, wait. I said Jennifer was on some Wiccan shit, right? This circle of trust is a little questionable as well. Iyanla, what is this? Ultimately, she is actually splitting the group up in two. She sends Terrance, Kevin, and Mike to downtown LA to feed the homeless. She's like, okay, fellas, phones, please. You know the rules, pal. After they leave, Iyanla calls Terrance's wife, Jennifer, to smooth things out. She wants his wife to be on board with his healing process, because if she isn't, things may not go well for Terrance. Jennifer tells Iyanla that she was under the impression that if he was going to leave, she was going to be able to come with him. It sounds like to me she's just feeling some kind of way because she couldn't be on the show with him. I did say in the last recap that she was a little jealous, and I could hear the green in her damn voice. A little birdie told me she even tried to send one of her children there to be her spy. She is worried that Lyra's mother would show up and be on the show as well. Did I mention to you that Lyra's mother, Michelle, is so goddamn fine, like wine forever? I'd be scared to let him go too. I think that Jennifer is afraid of Michelle actually showing up. I'd be scared too. Let's go over this. Jennifer, Michelle. Jennifer, Michelle. I mean, really, no comparison. Jennifer may have that wedding ring, honey, but Michelle is a stone cold fox, you heard me? Anyway, Iyanla is explaining to her as Jennifer expresses her discomfort with him not calling her while he's away. She's like, honey, I've had his phone. I need him fully present in here. Oprah is not renting this big ass property for Terrance to be phone boning with you.
Hello, Miss Jennifer.
Hi.
Hi, this is Iyanla. How are you?
I'm fine.
I just wanted to kind of touch base with you about some of your concerns about Terrance's participation in this process.
The only thing I need is my husband back home.
This is really about the depth of his own pain.
I feel like that is not going to be resolved, and that this is a trip away from his family for something that he could have done here.
No, if he could have done it there, Miss Jennifer, he would have done it there.
He needs to be here with us retreating. He can't be accessible to you right now. That's the rules of him being on the property. How can I make this more of a beneficial situation for you?
There is nothing that you can do short of sending my husband home.
I will send him home. A better man and a better husband.
Let me tell you something. That bee with an itch is a venereal disease, and I don't mean the fun kind. Iyanla says that Jennifer is afraid that things are about to change because she knows that when he returns home, she will no longer be able to control him. And this is a beautiful property, by the way. Oh my God. I wouldn't want to leave. Next thing, Iyanla is talking to Clarence. She is trying to convince Clarence to forgive himself for the things he's done in the past. He has been in and out of the system since he was a teen. He says he didn't grow up with his father, so at an early age, he had to figure out who he was as a man. He speaks about when he sold drugs and didn't care for anyone. This story is a very common story for African American men. He says he feels ashamed, and Iyanla's like, yeah, you should, my brother. You pump poison into your own people, into other people's children. He said that affects him now because he has children of his own. He says him dealing drugs and robberies affected his children, and that him being incarcerated became a repetitive cycle. His financial struggles have been the main issue with him. Iyanla's like, brother, you're going to have to forgive yourself. And he can barely even get the words out to forgive himself. She's telling him to literally say, I forgive myself, and he can't do it. He just starts crying. And he's embarrassed by that. He tells Iyanla that he was always taught not to cry. He excuses himself and is like, listen, I need a second. Let me get some air. This conversation is killing me on the inside. When he sits back down, she asks him what his vision is, and she has him imagine what kind of man he is and will be. His aspirations are to go to barber school, get his license, and open a barbershop called the Garage Cut. So she has him envision his shop and what it will look like. And I'm telling you, the thought of that put a smile on his face. He needed that. And she tells him, this is the man you are from now on, and don't let the past dictate who you are as a person. That was a very, very powerful scene to me. Now to my favorite part of this episode, when the fellas are in downtown LA at an organization called the Midnight Mission, where they serve meals to the homeless. They meet up with the community event coordinator, Joey, and he puts them to work. This is just awesome to me. Anyone who has been watching my channel knows that since last year, I was working with the organization called Simply United Together, and we did a catering to the homeless event monthly in Atlanta. The next event is actually on the 20th. It's called Good in the Hood. It's actually a basketball tournament. If you want more information about my nonprofit or you want to donate, go to www.bmagmobile.com. Anyway, Dangerous runs into this woman who knows sign language.
I learned in church. Is this church? But I forgot a lot of signs. How do I say 30? I'm 30.
That's so cool, man.
I wish I could do that.
I do too, man. It makes me want to learn it, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, man.
I think that Dangerous is a better man than people give him credit. He's starting to look a lot sweeter and kinder. Mike Bass is up next. He believes the members of Boyz II Men abandoned him. But the problem is he kept it bottled up and it turned into anger. He tells Iyanla that him being a nice guy has worked against him because people think that they can take advantage of him. She tells him to talk about when he grew up in Philly and what it was like to be one of the founders of Boyz II Men. He talks about the death of his father, whom he was really close to. His father was killed when Mike was 16 while he was a member of Boyz II Men. Michael Bivins was managing them at the time, but they also had a road manager by the name of Khalil, who was set up by hotel employees where they were staying while they were on the road, and was murdered in an elevator during a robbery in Chicago. Khalil was always carrying the money they get from bookings. When Khalil was killed, Mike feels like he lost another father. So Iyanla asks Mike, what does he do with his tears? Which is an interesting question because she was just sitting with Clarence and he was taught that crying was embarrassing. And Mike says that normally he just holds his tears in. Iyanla says that Mike is a prime example of a man who believes that tears are a sign of weakness. He was diagnosed with MS when he was 28. He has been divorced for 7 years, and once he divorced his wife, he stopped being a father. He says he never told his family members or his wife, which is crazy to me because they were married for 14 years. He said he stopped trusting her. He stopped trusting the brothers in Boyz II Men at 29 during his depression. He didn't confide in anyone. He didn't feel comfortable. She tells them that he made up in his own head that everyone had issues with him. He said he didn't feel like he needed to give what was happening to him a label because everyone saw what was going on with him and they weren't feeling any compassion for him. He says that he was seeing neurologists on the road, that he would go and have surgeries while they were on the road, and he feels like his brothers should have understand. She tells him that she thinks he needed time, rest, and healing, but he wasn't asking for it from the people around him. So what did he expect? And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, tell me about it, Iyanla, because we are fucking mind readers. I mean, what does he think this is? He isolated himself. No one ostracized him. He ostracized himself. She explains to him that withholding the information is what caused the problem. And she says that too many black men feel like in order to be strong, they have to deal with their own problems alone and never ask for help. Mike's unwillingness to ask for what he needed created isolation, bitterness, and resentment. And that basically destroyed his relationships and friendships. She tells him to stop focusing on what he believes to be betrayal and instead focus on the pain he feels so that he can clear it out. She also tells him that how he treats himself is how he invites others in to treat him the same. She asks him, is he mad at them or himself? And he flat out says, you know what? Now that I think about it, I have no idea. So the next scene, she sits the fellas down to talk about integrity and being honest with each other. She says she is feeling some type of way because being as though there was a rule that there are not to be any phones at unauthorized times, she found a phone inside of the laundry room which could be basically connected to a landline. Kevin was like, dude, it wasn't me, ma'am. You know, I didn't do it. Some other fellas was like, yeah, it wasn't me either. Terrance was like, fuck that. It was me. I did it. I got little kids and shit. I need to call my wife. Fuck that. And Iyanla's like, Terrance, we all know the rules. Everyone agreed, including you. He's like, I was lied to by your producers before I got here. They told me that I'd be able to talk to my wife while I'm here. I feel hoodwinked. I feel bamboozled. I feel led astray. I feel rid amok. And Iyanla was like, whoa, buddy, that pointing and yelling shit is unnecessary. She literally said, pump your brakes, bruh. That is not part of Soncerae's recap. That is what Iyanla said verbatim. I am not making this up. She said, pump your brakes. Then she was like, producer by the name of who? What producer told you this? He's like, Lori. She's like, Lori? Okay, bring the bitch out here because she don't run shit up in here. Not up in here. Lori comes out. She looks all scared and frail and shit. She's like, no, nigga, that is not how this shit went. You're not about to have me lose my job off of your bullshit. You can kiss my ass. Maybe we had a communication problem, but I did not tell you that you were going to be able to talk to your wife anytime you wanted to while you was here. Come on, get a grip. He stands up and takes a breather and tries to calm down, but he can't and just ends up walking the fuck off. Again, the back of his head. I'm seeing, again, the back of his head. Iyanla's like, I'm so sick of this. I'm so tired of this. She asked the fellas, what do they see happening? They're like flat out like, he's so immature. He doesn't like admitting what he does wrong. He has an integrity problem. Mike goes into a confessional and he's like, you know what? This little act Terrance is doing is getting real old and tired. We starting to get sick of the childishness. So she passes out these new name tags. Meanwhile, Terrance, aka Worthless, which is his new name tag, walks off. All right, and he's actually walking to the corner. I don't know where he think he going. He in the middle of basically fucking nowhere. Where is he walking to? You know what I mean? Like, where do you think he going? Anyway, next scene, she takes the fellas into the dining room. They do this truth stone exercise to build integrity. She says she's going to pass the stone around and ask healing questions that she wants the fellas to honestly answer. She says to Dangerous, whose new name is now Useless, that a man is what his mother makes him. She asks him how he feels about that, and he says that he always thought to himself, how could someone talk to someone's mother like that? And he said he has talked to his own mother disrespectfully. He says he's even kicked out his mother's car window one time. And Iyanla is like, you've been angry at her for a long time, haven't you? And he says, yeah. She's like, why? He tells this story about how his mother treated him like he was her therapist and used to talk bad to him about his father. He sees her as bitter. He says when he was 6 years old, she was mad at his dad one day, and his dentist and his ass kept climbing in and out of the window. The problem was people were seeing him climb in and out the window and would come rob them. She caught him climbing in and out of the window one time and beat his ass like he was a grown ass man. So he climbed out the window and ran away crying. Iyanla tells him that that's the exact thing he has always defended himself from. That's what he's been defending himself from the whole time. He's like, you know what? That's right. That's been one of the things. Dangerous, Useless, passes the stone to Clarence, and Iyanla asks him to tell her something he doesn't want her to know about him. He says he's tried to hurt himself, not suicide, but close enough, like being reckless. But if he just so happens to get killed inside of the process, that was okay. The stone is then passed to Mike, and he tells the story about how he wanted to choke his wife so much that instead he just decided to divorce her. You know what's funny? Mike wants to choke everyone. Mike is mad at everyone. He sounds like a serial killer on the inside. That whole nice guy routine is over. You hear me? This is when he admits to everyone he left his kids. When he left her, he ends up breaking down over it, walks into the pool room and is crying his eyes out over his kids. The brothers basically help him pull it together. Next scene, they track down Terrance. He's talking to one of the male educators that come and talk to the men about, their improvement and their process. He's basically outside in the driveway talking to Terrance, trying to get him to calm down. Last episode, they brought in Devon Franklin. This episode, they brought in Dr. Steve Perry. He's trying to get Terrance to calm down and come in and join the fellas. He talks him into it and encourages Terrance to finish the healing process. All of the fellas join together in the living room, and Iyanla is on some welcome back Terrance shit and asks him, is he going to participate? He says he just wants to listen. Dr. Perry helps people who are having issues with the fact that they have somewhat abandoned their kids, which I didn't even really think to look at it in that way until I saw this. I didn't think of it as, oh yeah, these people are hurting because they abandoned their kids. I just assumed, they wanted to abandon their children and they're actually happy abandoning them. So anyway, he explains that how a person describes themselves will be how people will perceive them. So fathers should look and act like fathers. And then they start talking about all of the things that fathers do, like keep pictures of their children inside of their phone. Useless says he took his kids off his screensaver because it was too hurtful to see them, because he wouldn't be able to be around them because of, his kids' moms basically saying he can't, basically taking him to court. And Dr. Perry, in layman's terms, is like, you a straight bitch for doing that. That was a fucking cop out. You a piece of shit. He said he can tell that it means a lot to Useless to be called a father, but he can also tell that something is holding Useless back. So Useless is like, listen, I don't want to go to court and deal with this because that means I'm falling into the system and the manipulation of women. He says he feels like courts shouldn't allow women to manipulate the system. Dr. Perry is like, okay. Listen, one thing we can do for each other as men is hold each other accountable, especially men who take care of their children. He goes on to tell them that men should know their kids' shoe size and favorite color. It's a man's obligation to engage in that kind of integrity and say, I can't leave it up to someone else to raise my kids. Dr. Perry asks Terrance about his relationship with his 5 children. He says he's close to all of his children except Lyra. So Perry is like, what the fuck happened with that? He goes into talking about how he was too young when he had her. He says that at the age 16, when him and Michelle had Lyra, he didn't understand the gravity of the situation. Iyanla says that Terrance is still in denial about this whole situation, and yes, he obviously is. To me, I roll my eyes so hard out my sockets every time I see him. Dr. Perry starts talking to Mike, and Mike tells him that his kids helped him out of his depression. All of the fellas thank Dr. Perry, and they move on to the next scene. In the hallway, Terrance is telling Dr. Perry that he feels like Iyanla duped him. He says that Iyanla called his wife earlier that day and told her that she lied to bring Terrance on the show, having Terrance believe that they were going to have a one-on-one with him and possibly Lyra. He didn't know that the show was going to be set up that way. Iyanla hears of the conversation and pulls him to the side to talk to him. She tells him, listen, I told you 300 times, this isn't about Lyra, this is about you. She says to him, listen, if you want, we will put you in a hotel and pay for your flight in the morning. He actually looks sad. So she's like, well, what you sad about? I just told you I'm going to do what you asked me to. He says, Iyanla, I want to tell you something. And he takes off his microphone. And I'm thinking, I don't know why he did that, because we can still fucking hear him. Iyanla still has her mic on.
Honestly, after today, I really wanted to stay.
So why'd you turn your mic off to say that?
Because of my wife.
Boom. Okay. Boom. All right. Eat that alive, Miss Jennifer. You should have listened to Iyanla, beloved. She tried to make shit beneficial for you, but you want it to be complicated. Everybody, my t-shirts are on sale. If you look in the long description box, there are t-shirts for men and women, and the proceeds go to my nonprofit, Block 11. Make sure you check it out, okay? Have vision and stay focused. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Namaste.